All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the Frantic Talks podcast. I am your host, Frantic, along with my lovely co host,
Grunt
and we are here to talk about video games and
and
junk.
junk and junk.
And
One of these
junk.
weeks, one of these weeks we'll get that timed perfectly.
Just jumped off screen to close my door. Uh, it's very hard to get it timed perfectly. If you do Skype calls or like phone calls, there's actually like a half a second delay, but depending on the connection. Not necessarily with phone calls, obviously, but internet, there's about a second delay. So you would have to predict me saying it, and it could work.
I mean,
In my ears, we were on time,
is
but
that a challenge? Is that a
that
challenge?
is a challenge.
All right, all right, let's go.
We could definitely do it. So let's start off with our normal spick or steal or whatever. What is it? Spiel. That's the word I'm
Shtick.
looking. I don't need a shtick. I'm just making up words for the rest of the podcast.
Hey,
Um,
works for me.
so how was your week, Grunt?
It was pretty good actually, fairly uneventful. I played a lot of Destiny, which we'll discuss a lot about that. I have a feeling this podcast.
I
I've
definitely have that feeling.
also been trying my hardest to finish Assassin's Creed Syndicate, but I keep getting distracted in that game very easily. Like the other day, I logged on and played it for like 2 hours, and the first hour was actually spent reading all of the unread entries in the Animus database.
Yeah.
So, um, let's see. On Sunday, I watched the season 6 finale of the Walking Dead, which
Yes.
there's a lot of people not liking that.
Right. And I understand why they aren't liking it because of how it coincides with the comics in terms
Right.
of uh I'm not going to spoil anything. Someone was supposed to die and they didn't. They just left it as a cliffhanger. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, they actually did kill them off. It's just we don't know who. They didn't give you
Yeah, that's what I
unlike the
understood.
unlike the comics, they showed you who died right then and there before the issue ended. With the
Right.
show, we're gonna have to wait till the next season. It would be season 7 now. Yeah, um,
Which will be like what? Sometime around like November or something?
October. It normally premieres
Halloween.
some normally about mid October, around the
Okay.
12th, or somewhere around there.
Gotcha, because I remember the very first season debuted on Halloween because I was
Yeah.
watching it. I watched
Yep.
it on Halloween because I was obviously in the mood for Halloween related things.
hmm
So,
I
gotcha.
when I first watched it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, and here we are 6 years later, still
Kind
watching
of
it.
crazy that it's been on for that long. It doesn't seem like it's been that long.
It really doesn't. But yeah, I can understand why people were upset about it. It's kind of like you with Arrow the past several weeks.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Personally, I wish they would have, because that way, they would have shown us who they actually killed off.
Have some
Um,
closure, maybe.
yeah, closure. Uh, you have people out there, and myself included, we have our theories of who it is. Based on the way characters have been acting the past several episodes and all that stuff. So I won't get into that to avoid spoilers. Um,
Right. Understandable.
but I also am not bitter over it because most shows at the season ending have a cliffhanger.
Hmm.
This is their cliffhanger to build on the suspense for the start of next season, because you'll have people talking all summer long about who did they kill off? Who did they kill off? Do you think this is who it could be? No, I think it's this person.
Hmm.
So
But
it's
it makes
understandable.
it makes less sense when you know who it is because they're following the comics.
Yeah,
At least I
they're
would think so.
to some extent they are. Major plot lines like the introduction of the main villain right now. It happened nearly identical the way it did in the comics.
Hmm.
Other things in the past, it's more so where they've killed off certain characters. Like, I could think of a perfect example, but I don't know if I want to spoil it. It happened in one of the earlier seasons.
I mean, just say spoilers for this season. I mean, it's been what, probably 3 or 4 years.
Uh, 3, I would think, because it was like season 3 that they killed him off. In the comics, at the prison, which was like season 3, I think it was.
Hmm.
Um, in season 3, in terms of the show, they killed off quite a few people, and Carol being one of them.
Okay.
At the prison. Well, actually, yeah, they killed her off at the prison back in the comics, back when they were at the prison, and even to right now, she's still alive. So, it's hard to say if they're going to stick with the same storyline or the same characters are going to get killed off here, which that's where a lot of my debate has been with who they're actually going to kill off, because I know who they kill off based on reading the comics,
Hmm.
but there are other characters that died way earlier than they should have, or ones that haven't died at all yet. So,
Gotcha. It kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones in a
mm-hmm,
sense, only because, and I'm not going to spoil anything, there's just certain characters, like, they literally just caught up with the books at the end of the last season,
mm-hmm,
and certain characters were dead when they weren't in the books.
right,
So, and this goes back to something I've actually said before. When it comes to using a source material when making something, it's typically a comic book to TV show or comic book to movie type thing.
mm-hmm,
When it comes to using that, I'm all for going all canon on it, but to me that just says, uh, it just says to me that either you're not being creative or the story you already know how it's going to end. So it's like,
why even
why?
bother?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But then to segue into a point I will be making, you get shows like Arrow where they don't even understand the source material. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I definitely am all for you taking canon and changing how it would be. So, like how Arrow is the Green Arrow in the comics is typically more witty. He's got at least like a Robin Hood character with like a beard and stuff, like a goatee that's all blonde and stuff. And then when they made him on TV, he was like a budget Batman basically, where he was just dark.
budget Batman.
I mean, he really was. He's just dark and brooding and killing people in the beginning and stuff. And it's just like, okay, I mean,
Right.
that's a way to make the Green Arrow, and I was okay with it because they kept a lot true to his character in terms of people that were around him, the city he was in, all the stuff. It basically just took the character and put him into a world that was
Right.
darker than typical, but still kept true to it. And it had a specific purpose. It had all these, for the first two seasons, it had very true to the comic stuff in terms of just characters, motivations, and all that stuff. And then as we get into season 3 and 4, which is where it just dive bombs in terms of quality, and up until the latest episode, which was still shit, which
Right.
I will talk about here momentarily. But it's a case of taking it away from canon, but not understanding who the characters are, why they would do what they do, and what their overall purpose is in terms of existing. I guess is the best way to put that. As
Mm-hmm.
if there's like a bigger reason they exist besides money or creativity, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So I would say that applies to the Walking Dead's issue right now, where it's like everyone knows who should be dead, but they haven't said it, and
Mm-hmm.
they are doing things slightly differently than the comics, so it could theoretically not be who everyone thinks it'll be.
Right. And that's exactly why I have several different theories as to who they're going to kill off, and I'll never know until the next season premieres.
And if I'm not mistaken, the person who died in the comic books, I don't want to spoil it necessarily, but isn't the person like kind of a favorite character among many people?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I would say so. On the
So
show,
he,
most
he he's
definitely. Yeah.
liked, definitely.
Yes.
So they could go Game of Thrones on it and just pick your favorite character and kill him, or not. It,
Right.
it all depends.
There's so many factors, and like yeah, I'm basically just going to circle back around to bringing my theories up into it. But there's so many factors that they could go for killing anyone off on that show.
Gotcha.
So, my final closing thoughts on that, I on the show. The reason I'm not
Hmm.
upset about the way it ended, I think they could have done it, handled it differently. They could have given us the closure, but you know, I don't even know if closure is the right word for it. They could have. Well, I guess it would be, but the whole theme of the episode was possible spoilers, by the way.
No worries.
Um, the whole theme of the episode was the Rick's group was very confident that they were going to get things back the way they used to be before all of the stuff happened.
Hmm.
And Negan just basically tore that down, and now everything's all hopeless again. How are we going to survive this? So I
Gotcha.
think that was more so. And if I remember correctly, I think even on the after show, Talking Dead, they had the showrunner Scott Gimple and the franchise creator Robert Kirkman
Yeah.
on the show, and that was his reasoning as to why they went with it this way. Because the host of the show brought up the point that people were upset. So,
Hmm.
what better way to confront that than have right then and there in the moment with the showrunner and the franchise creators? So, I agree with their reasoning behind it, and that's the whole reason I'm not. Walking Dead sucks. Blah.
Right. Yeah, and once you understand the reasoning behind it, sometimes you like kind of see the light, I guess is the best way to put that.
Right.
When I watched Man of Steel for the first time, I had fun watching it and thought it was, just a movie. It was like, oh, if I want to watch Superman romp around killing things, well, not killing, but you know what I mean. It was just like, I could go watch this movie. And then I didn't watch it, but I read like a screen cap of the director's cut where they like take a picture and explain what their philosophy was on a lot of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And once I read that, I gained this whole new appreciation for it. I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense the way he did that now. It's like
Right.
sometimes you have to understand how they viewed it and why they did it the way they did to
In order to
appreciate it.
right, exactly.
Uh, and then there's one scene in there where his Superman, I mean, Man of Steel, this was 2013. I'm spoiling it slightly, I guess. Doesn't really matter. Superman's human dad, because we all know he's not human. His dad dies to a tornado that Superman could have easily saved him from because he's like 10 years old, but he has Kryptonian powers. Could have flown in and saved him. But his dad was all like, "No, don't." He just holds his hand up and says, "Stop," because he doesn't want him to like reveal his powers to people. And
Wow,
and then
Superman, please.
yeah, and then everyone was just like, that was the shittiest scene ever. And the director explains it, and then the guy who's typing up this commentary to put on Reddit just put in parentheses, but we all know it was still a shitty scene. So there are cases where even if the logic behind it does theoretically make sense, it can still be shitty.
All right.
So let's look at Arrow, because this applies perfectly. To answer my original question of how was my week, it was good. I saw some family yesterday, played some Destiny, watched Arrow on Wednesday, and immediately cried and got mad after I watched it. So if
Wow,
you've listened to the past
emotions.
couple of episodes of the podcast, I have really just gone on rants about the lack of logic and lack of just good TV shows, not TV shows, TV episodes of Arrow. Uh, to give you a background, I watched Arrow season 1 and season 2 right before season 3 came out. I loved both of them so much that I like got like little bobbleheads. I'm gonna pull them down again. I think I showed them last time, but I have this Arrow bobblehead, and I have a drawing of him and a couple other. I've actually bought like the entire New 52 storyline of Green Arrow. The TV show got me into Green Arrow, is what I'm trying to say. Season 3 happened. It was okay. I didn't really care for it. And then they were pushing really hard Oliver and this girl named Felicity to be together, who is this tech genius. Anyways, Tumblr started doing what's called shipping, and I don't know why we've given it this term, but it's basically there were two ships. So think of it as jumping on one ship and jumping off. That's the metaphor, I guess. Uh, One of them's Olicity, which is Oliver and Felicity together, which is not at all canon. And then there's Loliver, or Loriver, however you want to say it. It's Laurel and Oliver, which Laurel is a character from season 1 who's been there the whole time. She's the Black Canary now, and she is definitely the one Oliver is always with in comics. He is always dating the Black Canary, whether it's Sarah Lance or Laurel Lance, which Laurel's real name's Dinah, something like that. Anyways, everyone on Reddit is basically on the board for Laurel and Oliver to be together because that's what's canon. That's how it always ends up. And many say it would be like Superman going to Lois Lane. That's their opinion. I somewhat agree with that, but like I said, I was always okay with it being him and Felicity as long as it was told well, as long as the characters had proper motivation for it. That was my thought. I was like, I like the romance they had going in season 2 because she was like a comic relief side character, and they pulled a really cool like misdirection with it. It was really good, and it like had me on the edge of my seat. But then they started giving her more screen time and not changing how her character worked. They didn't show much about her besides how witty and funny she was, and at a certain point, it just kind of got stupid. And they started dating at the end of season 3, like they drove off into the sunset to go live normal white people lives. And Legitimately, I say that because they're talking about like a crock pot in the beginning of season 1 or season 4, and you're just like, why is this a superhero show right now? Like, why are we discussing cooking methods in suburbia? So that was
Hey,
cool.
hey, superheroes do have to eat at times too. So
Right, it was just like this is really odd, and then and whatever. So skip forward a couple of times here, and we get to the point to where I was really upset because Felicity was paralyzed, and she got up and walked out on Oliver, based on pure stupidity. I don't really know how she did it. Besides the fact that she was getting like this spinal implant to try to walk again because she got paralyzed, whatever. In the latest episode, so this is spoilers for season 4, episode 18. I've spoiled a little bit of season 4 already. If you haven't watched it, I apologize. But anyway, season 4, episode 18 was the one that aired on this past Wednesday, April 6th. Yeah, April 6th.
hmm?
The episode was titled 1159, and they've been teasing a grave since the beginning of the season. Someone was going to die, and they said it was going to be someone from like the first season, a prominent character, and they're going to part ways. The death will be permanent. That's what they've been saying. And a lot of people guessed that they were just literally going to make it up as they go, which it really felt like that. Objectively looking at the episode that happened on Wednesday, it was amazing. It felt like an Arrow episode. There was all kinds of action. There was all kinds of logic that made sense. Characters doing things they would do, fights happening, all kinds of good stuff. Like I was really enjoying the episode. And this girl Felicity didn't even show up until the last 7 minutes, so we didn't even have her in the episode. Which at this point I don't want her in episodes. I've seen her. I've seen a lot of episodes without her so far that I really enjoy, and then when she hops in, it's just like this is kind of annoying. Uh, anyways, she shows up at the end, but what happens is this guy named Damien Dark, that's who they're fighting against. He is trying to break out of jail, and he has like mystical, magical powers, but he has to have an idol to give him this power. And they broke
Hmm.
the idol, but for some reason they reassembled it and put it back together, but hid one piece of the idol so he wouldn't theoretically have it. Well, they steal the his like troops or whatever steal the idol and bring it to him in jail, and then realize he's missing a piece. Betrayal happens, and he finally gets the piece and has them all held up because his power is like he can basically force choke you, but he can do it to like 4 people at once. So he has the
Oh.
entire Team Arrow like force choked in position, like you know something, Laurel, your father was under my he was under my thumb, and I told him if he ever stepped out against me, he would he I would harm his daughter, which is Laurel. Well, she got her father to testify in court. That's how he ended up in jail. So he stepped out against her, and he goes, "I told him if you ever did that, he would pay the price." And so he stabs her with an arrow. Looking at this objectively, that all made sense. He told him if you step out of line, if you go against me or whatever, I'm holding this over your head, and that's what happened. So he did it. Looking at that, whatever. I get it. Not happy that that happened, but it made sense. Here's where it gets really stupid. They take her to the hospital in costume or whatever, because the district attorney, who's actually a secret superhero vigilante, isn't going to undo the entire justice she's ever done, right? They take her to the hospital, and they stabilize her after being stabbed by this arrow and losing a bunch of blood, and they stabilize her. And she's sitting in the room next to everybody, and for some reason, it's just kind of telling him, I only live once, and you never know if this could happen again, so I want to say bye to all of you just in case. And it's like, oh, so you're still going to kill her. The one thing that pissed everybody off, and it pissed me off the most, is that she tells Oliver she still loves him and wants to be with him, but she knows he wants to be with Felicity, and that's just quite all right. And then seizes up and dies. So
That's it.
yeah, that's literally what happens. She does say, I need you to do one more thing for me." Then it cuts out of the room, and it shows paramedics coming in for her while she's seizing. So everyone has theories that just maybe, she said, "I need you to fake my death because your team's falling apart and they need something to pull them together." I would really hope that's what happened. But what I'm really thinking is, I need you to do something for me. No idea what it's going to be. They've already said we won't find out till the next season. But it was like, I need you to do something for me, and then she seizes up and dies, quote unquote. So I don't know what happened there, but they released a bunch of interviews afterwards of Mark Guggenheim. Is his name Guggenheim, something like that? He's the head writer and like the show director. Interviews with him where he's talking about the decision to kill her off, where he said we knew people would be enraged, but we felt like the character's arc had progressed to this, and most of Reddit is along the lines of this: you killed her off by having her say, "I know we're supposed to be together in the comics and everything, and no one else wants no one else wants you to be with that one chick, but it's
Hmm.
quite all right." And they're also upset that uh, Felicity, the way she got paralyzed, the other girl who's caused all this drama, quote unquote, she got paralyzed by being filled with bullets.
All right.
Yeah, so think of it this way. She got mowed down by bullets in a car and got paralyzed and didn't die. Laurel gets stabbed with an arrow under her rib and dies. If that's
I
not
mean,
if that's not plot force keeping her together, I don't know what is.
yeah, that doesn't make any sense, really.
So a lot of the people on the Arrow subreddit are going to stop watching the show. They release a promo right after the episode on YouTube. It's gotten what, like 9 out of 10 votes on it or dislikes. So the bar of dislikes on YouTube is like covering up the like bar. In other words, everyone's upset besides the people who are really wanting her to be dead. Like I mentioned last week, where there were people tweeting about like "die birdie die" and all this stuff, where it was like time to get the one threat to the relationship we have in mind taken care of. And to be honest, I think I'll finish out the season just to see how it wraps up, if anything changes, what happens at the end. But season 5, I'm not sure if I'm going to even watch it at this point because it's not a matter of she died, it's a matter of everything that followed up to her dying was just stupid. It was motivations of a main female character not making any sense and being poorly written, and episodes just being soap operas instead of an action superhero show, you know what I mean?
All right. It's
So,
sounds like it's becoming the show is becoming harder to harder they want to follow the canon like you said, but they want to change it to where, it's not like everything, you're not basically reading watching the comics, I
mhm.
guess. So,
And yeah, and there's a lot of
and
other things like people say that when he says that she naturally progressed to her having to die, they blame that on just poor writing in the third and fourth season for that character. It's like she didn't have to do that. She could have just not died. And I'm
I
like,
mean,
I kind of agree with that, to be honest.
yeah.
So, like, I could go on for pretty long about this because there's a lot of stuff I didn't even mention, because I want to get to our other stuff. But for the most part, I loved every bit of that episode until the last 7 minutes, which is basically all the stuff related to her dying. And they've come out and said, saying goodbye and all the tears in that scene were real because she was really saying goodbye to all the cast members and all this other stuff. And Stephen Amell, which is the Arrow Oliver Queen, he tweeted hardest episode to ever film or hardest scene to film. So it seems like she won't be coming back. So that's really upsetting because I like her as a person and I like her character for the most part, besides some specific times where she's just been stupid. Uh, so, like I said, it's going to be tough to go on watching it when a main character like this has died now.
Oh yeah.
So, and it's not to say I can't watch a show without main characters. I watch Game of Thrones. Everyone dies, but the way it was written is what bothers me, and it feels like it's not stopping in terms of pure crap being written on a
Right.
piece of paper and then sold as a show called Arrow.
Kind of sounds like what they did with season 2 of The Walking Dead. Ugh. It's just
I remember you mentioned it was
not.
just bad.
Yeah, they the storyline for the second season, it needed to be said and it needed to be done to progress, the series. But at that point, they had different writers and they had different showrunners and all that stuff, and they just dragged it out way too long. They could have wrapped it up in 3, 4 episodes and then moved on.
hmm
So that's really the biggest problem and why The Walking Dead season 2 is made so much fun of, because they dragged along they dragged a necessary storyline out for longer than it needed to be done.
I feel you there. We're getting a little bit of that symptom in this season where like the someone wrote this on Reddit, and I think this will be the last thing we say before we move on here. But someone on Reddit pointed out how Damien Dark, who's the main villain this season, it feels like nothing has changed since the first episode in terms of fighting him. It's literally, and this happens on Legends of Tomorrow, which is their spin-off show with like a bunch of other people against Vandal Savage, who's the villain there, where it's like, oh, we fight him, we go to fight him, we think we found a weakness. Oh, he's much stronger than we thought. He's much stronger than we thought. Oh, we're gonna fight him again. Oh, and it just keeps happening. Like nothing changes. It's like, oh, we learned this is his weakness. Oh, well, he already knew we knew that, and it just is like, what the?
Right.
They don't make any progress in terms of learning how to beat their foe. Like Arrow did a little bit when they were like, oh, he has an icon, let's blow that thing up, and then let's reassemble it for some reason.
Right.
So that was basically We talked a little bit longer about our junk this time around. Instead of 15, we've gone almost to 25 minutes, but it's okay.
Oh
The
well.
other things we have to talk about aren't nearly as long as our hour and a half we've been going to. So if anyone's upset by that, please leave us a
Sorry.
kindly worded message.
Emphasis on kindly.
Yes, kindly. We get a lot of hate mail. That's not true.
No,
We
no,
did
not
get
really.
great messages this past week though for playing. What was it, just elimination? Really,
Just yeah, elimination.
I got called a
So
scrub.
yeah, you are. I mean,
I mean,
what?
that's fair.
That's fair. That was exactly your
Yeah, if
response.
you want to go to my Twitter, literally he just says he just said scrub, and I was like, you know what, that's fair.
Yep.
I get
Some.
hate messages all the time because people think for some reason I actually care about my skill level in Destiny. I don't.
Yep. Yeah.
I
He who
can,
shall remain nameless.
yes,
Uh,
yeah, he fights back. We
he
don't.
does. He does. But we were the three of us were playing a elimination, or was it skirmish? I think it was elimination still. But anyways, we were playing a match of one of those two game modes, and one of the players on the other team left, so that left two people there.
Hmm.
Well, we wanted to get the game over with, so we, just kept finding and killing them as we found them until we got about halfway through the game. And we're like, let's have some fun. They started dancing, we started dancing with them. They were hiding, so all we saw was this person dances with this person on
Right.
the name on the screen. So we started dancing for like 30 seconds, and then the other two left. And
Yeah, I
then,
remember this.
yep. And then Freak Show.
You said his name.
Oh well. Technically, we're mentioning him when we say he who shall remain nameless. So,
If anybody doesn't
but
understand, we don't want to give him too many shout outs, is why we don't say his name.
yeah, right. But he got a message from the person that left saying, um, didn't want to drop my KD any lower than it was already going. Okay.
I guess that's a fair point if you
I
care
mean,
about your KD,
fair
but
point.
they were still getting beat pretty hard.
Yeah, just a little bit. And then who was it that came up with the response? I can't remember
Oh, it was
that, but
me. I forget the response, but it was definitely me because I remember we were telling one of our other friends on Twitter who was asking like, or we were asked to judge our hate mail responses.
right. And you basically said something along the lines of, "That's okay. I didn't want my KD climbing any higher than it already was," and that was the response the Freak Show used. So he got that, and the other guy just replied with like LOL or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
I think he just said LOL, and then it progressed later because he got more messages from the dude, and then he was
That's
just like, "Yep,
right.
you got
Stop,
destroyed."
stop drawing me. Stop drawing on me. Like, what does that even mean?
I don't know.
Oh, then he got reported as a cheater. That's actually where the stop drawing on came from.
Oh, okay.
That yeah.
It was so
Um,
funny.
I got asked for a rematch in Destiny. Don't know how you do that.
1v1 me noob.
Well, not Halo, sorry.
Yeah, I don't
But
know how
yeah,
you do that. There's no
yeah.
custom games, and you can't join a skirmish with 6 people, so
Nope,
or
sadly not.
elimination either way. Really weird.
But yeah, so kindly worded messages are great.
Yep, would be much preferred. So,
Right.
anyways,
One thing,
let's
I think
just.
this would
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
be a since we're changing subjects, this would be a perfect opportunity to advertise our not official sponsors.
I've taken like 20 sips out of my drink, waiting for you to say something.
Thank you, thank you.
Start with yours.
Mine is brought to you by room temperature water. Um,
You can just if you saw the Destiny
I
stream.
can't.
Oh man.
Basically, if you watch the most recent Bungie reveal stream back from April 6th, they have these travel mugs which has their company logo on it. Right, I don't know. Let me see here. I don't know how well you can see it.
That's pretty clear to
It
me.
was on stream. Then it has the Destiny logo on the other side. But I've had one since before Destiny even came out. And they advertised these on their stream, and Deej made the joke of the lovely room temperature water in it. And mine's actually cold, so it's not room temperature, but
Liar.
it's room temperature now. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
So that's where my joke originates from.
And then the sponsor is when I was caught. Well, I wasn't caught, but I was drinking sparkling water on screen a lot, and I just decided to point out that, oh, I'm just drinking this vintage brand sparkling water. And then I was just like, I hope they give me a spokesperson job. So I'm actually not drinking that this week. If you've actually been paying attention to what I've been drinking on stream or on the video if you're watching it. If not, I'll tell you. It's definitely not water. It's very brown, and that is because it is Honest Tea Unsweetened Black Tea. The guys from Good Mythical Morning, Rhett and Link, if you're familiar with them, they're really big on YouTube. They actually did an advertisement for this, so I figured I'd give it a shot, because one, I like tea, and two, I was wanting to drink something other than water sometimes. Uh, so yeah, definitely would recommend it. It has got 16 ounces and is the equivalent of 8 ounces of coffee in terms of caffeine.
There you go.
So
So
yeah, that's our
go run
sponsors
out,
that we're totally not getting paid for.
right? Go run out and grab your room temperature water today and your Honest Tea. One you actually can buy, the other one you can just get from your
From your faucet.
faucet.
If you like tap water. If not, go get a purifier. They're not that expensive.
Right.
Anyways, let's talk about video games since we're halfway through this podcast.
Wait, you mean we talk about video games on this?
I mean, and junk covers up the other half of this statement at the beginning. So we only have
Fair
3
enough.
things on the list today. 2 of them very quick and brief. I actually want to mention this before we move on. I forgot that I had this open. This is the Magic Frantic Talks website that is on screen right now. We just released a new article I wrote. It's called Budget EDH Board Wipes. If you know what that means, good for you. If you don't, basically it's a format where you play with 100 cards, one of each card except basic lands. You can have any number, and it follows a commander who has a color identity. It sounds kind of chaotic because it definitely is, and it can be expensive and it can't be. This is me trying to help you not be so expensive in a certain category that you would typically want. Board wipes meaning destroy all creatures and stuff like that. So that's up. If you want to go read that, I would much appreciate it. Give me cool feedback. I've gotten a good amount of feedback from Reddit. They seem to really enjoy it. So good article, I hope. And hopefully we'll get you some more stuff out, either on the Frantic Talk side or the Magic.Frantic Talk side. But we're going to move on now to this lovely game. That's Halo on screen. Well, we're going to talk about not Halo first. We're going to talk about Quantum Break.
All right then.
I thought I had a tab of Quantum Break, but I totally tabbed over in full screen mode without knowing it. So, whatever. I don't care. Quantum Break was I actually don't know what the game is about. I saw like previews for it and like advertisements on the Xbox One dashboard. But other than that, I truly didn't know what it was about. I just know that it was like one of those like big AAA titles that reminded me honestly of like what was it, Watch Dogs? Not in the sense of it's that type of game, just that it was one of those unheard of IPs that were gonna potentially go big.
Right.
And
Yeah, I'm interested in the game, but I don't honestly know what it's about. I know it has like some ability where you can pause or rewind time, so
okay, I
that's about it.
don't be upset with us that we don't know about it because we haven't played it. The reason I have it on here is because of the news it made when it was first released for the PC. And I noticed this on Reddit. There was apparently a big issue with quality of the game on PC versus consoles, and this isn't the first time this has happened. The issue is basically it runs at a subpar frame rate. It lags a lot. It's just crappy, even on the best graphics cards that you can buy. It runs. It's horrible. And
I'm
this.
reminded of another game that did that not too long
Oh
ago.
yeah, what game would that be?
Batman or something or other.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm,
If you recall, Batman Arkham Knight was released for the PlayStation, Xbox One, and PC, and Xbox One and PC loved it. Or not PC, PlayStation loved it. PC, it was crap. And this isn't the first time that's happened either. I remember, I think Arkham City, the one before Arkham Knight, actually had some issues on PC.
hmm
But basically, we talked a lot about how in 2014 and maybe a little bit in 2013 there were a lot of games that were released that were just unfinished, that were just sold for $60 and were really $30 worth of effort and weren't even finished. We've mentioned that before, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was one of the more recent ones that did that. It was just total crap. And we've seen a lot more, or a lot less is what I mean to say, a lot less of those this past year. And that's a good thing because that means that they're developing these games and actually finishing them in terms of being able to play them, enjoy them, and have fun with them. But I think I've seen where they've pushed off this issue too, and it's basically into porting it into the PC for some reason. That's where it is. So there have been a few number of games, like we said already. There's Quantum Break now to add to the list, but Arkham Knight, and then there was a game before that. I can't remember what it was. I know for a fact that it was released and was just not good. And it's really weird because if you think about it, you're coding the game on a PC. And I mean that doesn't mean much, I don't think, in terms of how you code it and how it works, but porting it to the PC, I don't understand what's so hard about it in terms of just optimizing it to be able to play on a PC. And it seems like they're either outsourcing it and not caring how quickly they get it done,
Mm-hmm.
or they just are putting about half the amount of effort they should into it and then just releasing it and thinking, oh, we'll just get it out in patches. Uh,
Right.
Arkham Knight, they gave out refunds to people who bought it on PC if they wanted one, but Quantum Break, they're still charging full price for it and aren't giving out refunds, which I think is messed up so far. Obviously, it's not even been a week since it came out, but like I said, I think that just says to me that instead of releasing unfinished games, we're finishing the games for consoles and neglecting the PC world, which shouldn't be done. PC gamers are gamers too. Maybe they're elitist, maybe they're not. I don't care. They should still be able to have access to these games,
We're
especially if you're going to
gamers
release
too.
them. Yeah, if you're going to release it for PC, make sure it works. Is I guess all I'm saying.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I feel like it's just unacceptable to make a port for a game to go to PC and it just not work.
Right. Uh, I mean, in terms of porting over a game to a different system altogether,
Hmm.
in my mind, I imagine it's fairly simple, but yet at the same time, it's also complex because you have these two different systems, like an Xbox and a PC, that yeah, they're both the Xbox is basically a computer in itself too,
Hmm.
but it's being told to work things differently than a computer would be. So
Right.
if that's kind of one reason why I'm not bitter on anymore. Well, not super bitter. I'm still bitter over the Master Chief Collection because you have all these games that were made for the original Xbox or the 360 trying to work on a brand new system that
Hmm.
works different than the other two, probably even combined. So that's, I imagine it's complex, but yet at the same time, it sounds like something that should just be relatively simple. It's not like copy paste the code into the
No.
PC and bam, it works. But
Hmm. Right. It does take time and effort, clearly,
right,
but it's something that shouldn't be neglected, I think is the takeaway.
exactly. So basically, developers, if you're going to port a game to the PC, test it before you release it.
And speaking of testing things before you release them,
Yeah.
let's talk about what's on screen, which is Ghost of Meridian for Halo 5, the latest update to Halo 5. I have yet to actually play this. I haven't picked up Halo in like a month, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just haven't done it. But the Ghost of Meridian update, we talked about it last week. They were adding in some cool new stuff, some new armor, some new maps, and
Rex, Rec
yeah,
packs,
wrecks and
and
stuff. Something that would seem to not be detrimental at all to how the game works.
yep.
Well, that's not really the case, is it, Grunt?
Hey, hey, Frantic, I want to play some custom games with you.
That sucks.
Why is that?
You just can't.
Why? What? Why can't I?
I don't know. I downloaded the Ghost of Meridian update, and for some reason, just couldn't play custom games anymore.
What?
Yeah, we're not kidding. We found this out through the Griffball community because they play custom games. I'm sure other people found out by trying to play a custom game. But with the latest update, you can't play them. They broke it. I don't know how you break it adding in rec packs and a map, but they broke it.
They
And
broke.
it could
Yeah.
have been just like back end things they were trying to tweak, like game time starts or something. Who knows what it was? But they haven't
Right.
released anything that I've seen so far in terms of saying, "Hey guys, sorry about that. We're gonna fix that." There was no
They
community
said
update, so
they've said that they are aware of it.
that's good.
The
Okay,
community coordinator Bravo tweeted that they're aware of it,
good.
so they're
So
aware of it. They have teams investigating it, but that was like 2 days ago. So
but yeah, I want to say something. 343 is notorious for this kind of crap, and it's kind of annoying. And I mean this in the sense of when Halo 4 came out, they they made a lot of false promises. The biggest one at the time that was closest to me was when I was winning Griffball because that was when it came out. We played a lot of Halo 4 Griffball. They said they had completely eliminated host advantage for Griffball. Now,
nope.
Yeah, first off, that didn't happen. Second, we all thought that was the greatest thing ever because that was the biggest issue of Griffball is whoever had host could sway the game in their favor, knowing how to use it. Blah blah blah. Hours of rage have gone to that, but whatever. Um,
Hours of rage.
they have, and everyone kind of figured out they tested on a local area network is the only way they could have come to that conclusion because host powers in Halo 4 were actually pretty obnoxious. Like they were worse than some other games, I think, but they are very notorious for releasing things and not testing them the way they should. Like I have no doubt in my mind they definitely tested Skirmish at Darkstar, the new map, and I have no doubt in my mind they tested what was the other map? Let me just scroll down here real quick. I don't even remember the name of it.
Tyrant?
Tyrant. You're right. I have no doubt in my
Yes.
mind they tested it. Um, and by test I mean probably loaded up one game and played it. But Halo 5 released with a lovely map that I don't remember the name of that is no longer in rotation because it was not at all tested
Oh,
because you could just
oh,
spawn camp it.
oh, oh God! I know this one. I know this one. Um, keep going.
I was gonna say I remember that map specifically because it was just like this is fucking awful. I can't
I,
remember the name of it,
I
but
can't
it
either.
was a
It was
Forge
that
World
horrible.
map. Like they built it in Forge and it was just crap. So they took it out of rotation. And let's not even start talking about the Master Chief Collection.
Ew.
That was not at all tested. I know they outsourced like part of it, but they did not at all test that. They just literally packaged it up and thought, man, this should work. So to say I'm surprised would not be a true statement in terms of Ghost and Meridian. I'm not at all surprised that something broke that they did not at all test because they just don't do that. Or versus, you look at Bungie in the latest update in the past couple of streams, they're playing on a controlled test environment. I don't know if 343 does that or not,
I would
but
hope so.
I really would. I would too, like Destiny, they can hop in and show us all this cool stuff, and then they have like 999,000 glimmer or whatever the max is, just infinite amounts of stuff to be able to just test it on end without having to wait for like respawns or whatever. And they can
Right.
they get groups together of some of their better players and test the custom games that well, not custom games, but like the Crucible updates. That's all they did this past stream was show us a bunch of gameplay with people testing their new tweaks and stuff to it just to me it seems that Bungie understands that they need to test these things before they make them live. And yes, there were some glitches in the last one in terms of 3v3 game modes, removing special ammo and people, cheesing it and being able to get around it, which was maybe just an oversight that they didn't think about. But I can definitely say a lot of the things I've played from not Destiny, Bungie, has not at all had these problems. The first three Halos didn't really have any true issues that I can think of besides Halo 2 had super jumps, which it's a hard thing to test for a glitch like that, without
Yeah.
knowing it exists. But
Right.
Halo, in terms of things just not straight up working versus a glitch, I feel like a glitch is much more acceptable than not being able to do things at all.
Or releasing a patch, releasing a content update and breaking content already in your game.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That just
bugs and
blows my mind.
glitches. Bugs and glitches happen. I get that. Game development isn't an easy thing. We've preached that on the website and on this podcast several times before.
Even though we just criticized PC ports.
Even though we just did that, yeah. Just ignore that fact. But you know, it's how do you not how I think that's really the only thing I can say. How do you release an update that breaks something that's already been in your game since pretty much the game came out? You know,
The only way I can see this working, and I think we'll move on after we cover this last couple of points here. But the only thing I can think of is in my time as like a web developer, there are certain times where the environment you're testing in is different than the live environment. So
right,
there are certain things that just don't work in your environment that work when you're on a live environment.
right,
So
and
the
I'm
only way I could think of it happening is they have some sort of way they tested this to where maybe custom games didn't work in their environment and they knew that it wouldn't work in their environment. And then pushing it live didn't realize that it would still not work. Or like they would somehow push a bug live that doesn't let custom games work. That's like the only thing I can think of.
but even at that though, if you know that problem could be a possibility, even a small chance,
Hmm.
you need to maybe consider pushing that update back, swallowing your pride and saying, hey, community, sorry, we know you want this update, but we're going to have to push back on it a little bit because it could break something you take near and dear to your heart in the game, like custom games.
Hmm.
You know,
Exactly.
I know there were, I think it was with Reach, there was an update that broke something in Forge, and Bungie's like, well, we need to put this patch out there, but to fix part of this matchmaking, but yeah, we're going to break this part of the game, so we're not going to push this patch out until we know it's going to work.
Yeah. And with how a lot of the stuff works nowadays, where they're trying to get a update out every month, along with hot fixes and trying to get things out as quick as possible, I think it's very easy
Right.
to jump the gun.
Right.
And I think
So
that's what this is a victim of that.
I think the developers just need to slow down. They need to take their time
Hmm.
and make sure things will work, even if it's a small possibility that it could break. If it's
Yeah.
going to break something as big as custom games or Forge or even the ability to be able to start your game and actually play it, um, that's something you need to, whoa, okay, we need to fix this before we say, all right, hey, go test out the new content, go try out the new content community.
Hmm.
So,
So yeah, it's unfortunate. Hopefully they get a patch out within like the next week or so, because there's a lot of Griffball games that are going to need to be played in that community,
yeah,
and I'm sure they're not the only community that has some sort of like league going on potentially.
that's just people that
So
want to play custom games.
yeah, even
So,
that, like people who only play Halo for custom games, which is a decent sized percentage.
mm-hmm. The
So
takeaway from this update, though, Warzone Firefight Beta, April 14th through the 18th, I believe.
yeah, that sounds about right.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Also, open beta that happened yesterday, started yesterday, Battleborn, the Gearbox software original IP that's coming out in May. Their open beta started yesterday, and I believe you can get in for free.
Yeah, PS4 started up yesterday. Xbox doesn't come out until next week, I
Okay.
think.
So that
So
keep an eye out for that if you're interested in that. If you play PlayStation, hop on it. If you play Xbox, you'll have to keep an eye out. Which I
yeah,
might download that and give it a shot. So
it's a good game. I think I mentioned this several weeks ago. I think that's going to be the game that really pushes Gearbox to announce Battleborn. Shit, that is Battleborn I'm talking about. Duh. Announce Borderlands 3. If Battleborn does well, I know I saw tweets from Randy Pitchford, one of the CEOs for
Gearbox.
Gearbox, tweet today that they have so much hope and ambition for Battleborn, which I commend them for that. But they want Battleborn to be a prominent esports contender. It's gonna be
Yeah,
tricky for them to get into that, but
could
I
happen.
hope it could. I mean, look, they're friggin' Rocket League. Did anyone ever picture that being a top contender for esport games? Probably not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, anybody could step into it assuming they make the right game with the right gameplay balance. Like, I don't remember who did League of Legends, but I'm pretty sure they hadn't really done much before that. So,
Yeah. So
yeah, I,
Battleborn,
I'm excited for it.
yeah, it looks like a good game.
The
Like I said,
subreddit loves it, so that's a good sign.
yeah, I think it's gonna make or break Borderlands 3. If it gets in too much of a hole for Gearbox, they're like, "Hey, Borderlands 3."
Mm.
If not, they'll just keep supporting Battleborn for another few years, and then, hey, Borderlands 3.
I
If you
mean, it
didn't
could
play
end up like
Battleborn,
Fallout, where it's like 7 years later we finally get it, but it's like really well tuned to work and have a lot of in depth to it. Could be something like that.
that's something they're going to have to do. I think for the next game, they're going to have to make something.
Yeah, definitely. So,
But I'll save all of that for another episode or an article or
yeah,
just Twitter rants, whatever.
whichever. You can find all of that online, and we will tell you that at the end of the podcast, where you can find all our fun rants and articles. But we're going to move on to our final topic, a topic that has been of much discussion between Grunt and I on the past couple podcasts, because it is a game we play quite a lot, and that is the Bungie April update, something they have been giving us pieces of ever since about a month ago, I'd say. So,
It's towards the end of March was basically last week. Whoops.
yeah, I was about to say, I think it was like mid-March they started talking about, like, it's just a content update, and you'll get a lot more of that in the next 3 weeks, so.
Right.
We've been really excited for this. We've talked a lot about it in the past two podcasts because they've given us a lot of stuff to talk about the past two podcasts. And this past up, I guess I don't want to say update, but this past week on Tuesday, was it Tuesday? Yeah, it was Tuesday.
The stream are you talking about?
Yeah,
That was on Wednesday,
was it on Wednesday? Oh yeah, because it was 6 days before
April
the.
6th. Yep,
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened on April 6th, by the way.
lots
The
of stuff.
the Halo update came out. This happened. Arrow happened, and all kinds of stuff. Wednesdays are fun. Anyways, this stream they covered Crucible and the Sandbox updates. In other words, editing how your loadouts, like your not your loadouts, your how your subclasses work, and if they're going to change in any way, and how weapons work, and how the ammo economy in the Crucible would change. That was pretty much everything they covered, but it was a lot of stuff. And
Lots of stuff. Lots of changes, both for the good and questionable. Can't say bad
yes,
because I haven't tried it, but
right. I have
questionable.
this extensive list of things that I'm going to run through here that you can also find. It is in this update, but it is also, and I will tab over to it really quick, open right here. It's weapon tuning in their April update where they kind of go over basically everything I'm about to say. They just go a little more in depth. And I'm going to have this up while I discuss all these. So this is going to sound like a lot, so just I'm going to go through as not as fast as possible, but definitely in a manner that is digestible. So I'm going to go in order of actually the stream because I wrote this all down as I was watching the stream. Um, First thing, revive is longer, and that means when you're in a game mode where reviving people is just part of it, and this includes PvE, the revive time is a little bit longer, and I believe they upped it by like it's
2 seconds, I
yeah
think, is what it was. It went
like a
from
second or two.
I think it went from 5 to 7,
Well, yeah,
and
the amount of time to pick them up, yeah, but like the actual holding X takes a little longer. Definitely doesn't
yeah,
take 5 seconds,
yeah.
but yeah. Uh, Holding X to revive somebody takes a little bit longer, and if you're using the Crest of Alpha Lupi, which is the crest that speeds up revive time, they decreased how much it speeds up, so you can't do what's called sprint reviving. So if you sprint through somebody's dead orb to hold X, you can typically just keep sprinting and hold X and revive them. You can no longer do that. You have to commit to the revive more than you already are. The percentage they increased it, they decreased it. It was 30% faster. Now it's 20% faster, and the amount of time to revive is a little longer, so that takes it down even further. That is mainly a thing in trials more than anything. I don't think it's that big of a deal in PvE environments or in like, I mean, skirmish and elimination. It could be a big issue, I think, but I think it.
The only thing for PVE it could affect, uh, people like me that get themselves into sticky situations during like raids and whatnot, where
Mhm.
maybe you fell off the map. I'm not saying I did that. Um,
Totally did.
but maybe no, I didn't. Shut up, Frantic. You weren't there, even
I
though you
wasn't
were there.
there, but
You weren't. No,
I
you
can
weren't. You weren't actually.
I can see right through your lies, almost as if it
Nope.
was glass.
Nope. But maybe you fell off the map or something. You basically just got killed. So it won't affect it as much as it will multiplayer. No, I agree, but it will be.
You'll notice it.
You'll notice it, yeah.
And the other thing is you have to. They reduce the distance that you can revive from by half a meter.
Right. So you basically, I think, from their uh, play testing on the stream, that it looks like you have to be pretty much right on top of the orb in order to respawn them or
Hmm.
revive them. So
And the only thing I don't like about this is how easier this can make it to be to snipe res or not revives.
res
So
snipe. You
yeah,
were
res sniping. It's a little easier now. Probably a lot easier now because you can just hold down an orb, which it goes both ways. I think it makes it to where you need to be a little smarter when it comes to just your play style, but also it makes it much easier if you snipe somebody to really just hold down their orb.
I will point out the fact that in their weapon tuning list, which I think you have pulled up, you said
Hmm.
overshield has been reprioritized so that as it reads here, so I don't misinterpret anything. Reprioritize overshield so that it takes precision damage modifiers. Previously, it did not, which allows more sniper archetypes to get res kills. So I don't know. Maybe maybe they're going to actually cut down on res sniping. Maybe not. Who knows?
I don't know. Well, because how I see it, it's saying is basically they want well, their goal was revive sniping in PvP shouldn't be limited to a handful of sniper rifles. They want it to be able to be done by all snipers. Is what that
Right.
says.
So who knows?
And they're just trying to put you at more risk for trying to resurrect somebody, which is the two goals they have listed. So, obviously, play testing this will be very interesting. I think, or not play testing, playing it when it happens. Whether or not we actually play a game mode like this ever again is beyond me because we'll just end up playing Prison of, or Challenge of Elders all day, every day. But when trials come around and we're in max level or close to max level, we might give it a shot. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna keep going here. We have special ammo. So if you heard us complaining about the icebreaker and special ammo in terms of being able to glitch it with the sidearm, they've gotten rid of that, and not in the way I expected. They just gave us special ammo back. They
Um,
didn't like we had a very short period of time there where they removed special ammo from 3v3 and other game modes with less, like 2v2s when that was a thing, and now they're just returning it because, and I quote, guns like the Invective and the Icebreaker are a part of Destiny, and they don't want to change them. I respect that,
which
but I
yeah,
think they still should have made like a restriction. You know?
yeah. I mean, there. This is one time where game direction is kind of dictating how the game is balanced. Which somewhere around here, I have something in the works on how I feel about that. But the reason that they can't, my solution is just to basically make it to where the icebreaker doesn't regenerate ammo in PvP. It's as simple as that. But
Mm,
Bungie's direction with Destiny, they want your guardian to travel with you at all times, so you know how it handles, how your guardian works, basically, I guess, for lack of a better term,
hmm
um, from game mode to game mode, whether it's a raid or a Crucible match or something like that. They want everything to work in one mode as it does the other way.
Yes, and that's important
And
because they, yeah, like you're saying, they don't want you to feel like your Guardian's different in different game modes.
right, like I threw that grenade over there. Why didn't it blow up in the Crucible when it did in this raid that I did or this
Yeah.
activity, whatever? So I get that they want to do that, but I think their solution was a lot more simple than just say, here, special ammo for everyone. Again,
Yeah. And the other thing to note with this in terms of ammo economy, which they actually didn't go into until later in the stream, if I remember correctly, or it might have
yeah,
been,
because it was a different designer that they talked to later on.
yeah. But we'll just go into that really quick. Special ammo spawns later in the round.
It's like a 3 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it's either at 3 minutes or 3 minutes into the round. Let me see if I can find it on here where they would have mentioned that. Ammo economy, there it is. Do, 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 do,
Mm,
do. So swapping, I'll just go through what their changes are that are on screen right now. Swapping special weapons in PvP now completely removes special ammo until it's found on the map. So you can't change your special weapon without losing all the ammo on it, which I don't necessarily like because if I was using a shotgun and wasn't doing too well, I want to switch to a sniper. I have to now go find ammo after switching to my sniper instead of being able to transfer the like 4 bullets on my shotgun to my sniper.
but it
But I get
prevents
why they did it.
things like the sidearm glitch.
Yep. They reduce the total ammo inventory for all snipers by around 5 to 7 rounds. It depends on the magazine and inventory stats. And they also did this to shotguns. They increased the special ammo drop rate in everything PVE
Which is great because
to offset that.
there was times last night where I was even having troubles finding um, special ammo.
hmm And then they reduced the fraction of ammo granted by purple bricks in PvP, which this change affects all machine guns and only a handful of rockets. Truth is one of them,
Good.
which they did not mention on stream, so I believe that means Truth's going to get one less shot. And then
Or yeah, maybe one or two less shots. It all depends.
And then they reduced bonus ammo inventory granted by machine gun ammo armor perk by 33%. Uh, So they didn't really mention the timing,
I'm
but
pretty sure it was
yeah, I
3 minutes
remember him
though,
saying three.
because it's like
I'm not seeing sure if it's 3 minutes. Like if you're playing a timed round mode where it goes down to 3 minutes, then down to 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Or if it means 3 minutes
right,
into the game, special ammo
I think
spawns.
it's 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and
Um,
then heavy ammo will only spawn once a game, no matter what you're playing in. Just
yep.
like in trials, it only spawns after a team gets to 3 wins. It will always spawn 5 minutes into a game, unless it's a round-based game. Then it would happen. So you only
Right.
get heavy ammo once, which to me, I mean, I'm fine with that. I never really had a issue with heavy ammo, but when it comes to getting a bounty where you need a heavy kill and you play this 10-minute game and you only get one chance at it and you don't get it, you got to play a whole other game. Or like the
It's gonna
Iron
be
Banner, where you got to get like 13 of them. That's going to be way harder now.
right. So in cases like that, I hope they lower the requirement to get those kills. Like maybe lower the um, heavy ammo kills from 13 to like 7 or 6. 8
Yeah, that would
even.
make it. I think 8 would be a good number, which I'm
I
sure they're
would
reevaluating.
right. They need to bring it down because otherwise, you're going to end up turning a fairly easy bounty for things like Iron Banner and even some of the daily bounties for the Crucible have you get like 3 heavy ammo kills,
Yeah, I
heavy
remember.
weapon kills. But it's going to turn stuff like that into more of a grind, which a lot of people don't like as it is right now.
Hmm. I like the dailies as something that can be done within about 30 minutes. Shouldn't take that long to get them all done. It gives you a good amount of rewards for the more casual people, and then
Mm-hmm.
your more weekly stuff and more grindy stuff should be obviously taking longer. I don't think dailies should take that long, which I did all my dailies today in about an hour, and that
Right.
was not all the dailies. I could have accepted more, but I did
30
it.
minutes to an hour, I think, is a good time frame to have those completed
Yeah.
because most people they can play for 30 minutes or an hour at least once per day. Maybe not all at the same time, but maybe like 30 minutes, to start the day off, and
Hmm.
then 30 minutes before they go to bed at night just to relax or something.
Yeah.
Their lunch break, people do that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna continue down through the list here. Uh, Crucible rewards are
The
being
list.
yeah, quote unquote list. Crucible rewards are being buffed. A lot of people I've seen on Reddit complain about how they only play Crucible and never get anything for it, which I definitely understand. That amount of Crucible games I've played does not compare to the amount of rewards I get for doing a strike.
Right.
Like one strike, I could get what I would have in about 3 or 4 hours of Crucible playing, which is just not at all right. They said you're
Oh,
going to see more legendaries. I feel like they already upped it because in the past couple, ever since they announced that, and the games of Crucible I played, I've had a lot more legendary Ingrams than I ever have. So I
I
feel like they
think
might have flipped that switch already.
yeah. I was just going to add on to that a hilarious note. Right after we went back to playing Destiny, at that after the stream was over,
Hmm.
there were 3 games in a row that one of us got a legendary to drop. So it's like, oh wow,
You're like, when
it's
is it?
funny they mention that,
It's really weird that that's happening now.
or
Yeah.
it's all in our head, and we just think it's in effect when right now it really isn't.
Well, yeah, it could be that. I know I've seen a lot of people who gather data on the Destiny subreddit showing that there's really not that much in terms of drops from it. So I
So
really think
yeah,
at the end of every game you should get something. To spend 5 to 7 minutes playing around a clash and get zero rewards for it just seems stupid to me.
right. Especially now that they're going to be upping the light level, you should be getting more frequent stuff closer to your light level.
Oh yeah,
So
like when I'm sitting here at 309 light and getting a 266 chest piece, it's like, what am I going to do with that? Sure, I can dismantle it for armor materials, but it's like, give me something else. Give me a 290 legendary that I could maybe infuse if I like the perks on it. Come on.
right.
So,
And
any,
I somewhere I can't I couldn't I tried to look last night because I saw something about it, but somewhere there's information on the Destiny the Game website. It's the official website that Bungie has for Destiny.
mhm.
That they are looking at stuff like that, or they're introducing changes like that. I couldn't find it, so I'm not going to say anything official about it to say this is what's happening. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Mhm.
So they are listening.
Which is good. It's always good when they listen.
It is.
Because if your fans aren't happy, then you can't really have a game. So,
No.
there's a lot more to go through, so I'm going to go a little quicker now. Trials bounties. This is actually really interesting. The trials bounties will drop up to 330. Remember, 335 is the max light. And the lighthouse will drop things at max light level at 335. The interesting thing about the trials bounties is the bounty His Eye Upon You will now happen. You can now complete it once a day. So from Friday to Monday, if you want to play through 10 games and get, what is it, 75 fire team kills,
Yeah,
and you do that every day, you could potentially get 4 things from it. Pretty sure that's the gold tier one, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So you can
yeah. That's
now
a
do
gold
that one
tier.
every day, and you get your gold tier rewards 4 times instead of once a weekend. So you could theoretically get all your rewards from a month of trials today, like this whole month, in one weekend now. So that's
Yep,
pretty cool. I
yep.
like that.
I like that. It definitely will encourage me to play trials, suffer through trials.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like I don't know if I want to play trials, and then they're like, well, you can complete the gold tier bounty 4 times. I'm like, kind of want to play trials now.
All right, great. I'll take that. And even if you don't get anything worthwhile for it, it's infusion fuel for
hmm
other gear that you may like better.
If you
So,
get something dropping at 3:30, that can get you closer to being able to do the challenge of elders. I mean,
right?
infuse your favorite scout rifle into the shitty water star. That's what I'd do.
Don't diss the water star.
I'm dissing the water star.
Don't diss the water star.
Anyways, next thing, Iron Banner. The 2 guaranteed things you always get from Iron Banner is an artifact and a ghost from the rank 3 and rank 5 package. Their light level is being increased to 320. And they are also updating the drops you get from Iron Banner, I think just in general, like the
Yeah,
challenges and stuff, to
they're
be only Iron Banner stuff.
yeah they're removing. It happened a lot this last Iron Banner.
hmm
People got more legendary engrams to drop post game rewards than they did actual Iron Banner drops.
hmm
So what they did is they removed legendary engrams and they upped the value. I think they upped the value or the rate at which Iron Banner gear can drop as post game rewards. So
Yeah.
no engrams, more Iron Banner rewards
hmm
is how basically I took that.
Also, if you did not get the hand cannon from Iron Banner, I feel sorry for you because it's freaking great. Especially
It
if you got the roll I got.
it is, yeah. I didn't get the roll you got, but I got one like it to drop
Yeah,
in. It was pretty good.
they're pretty crazy. Anyways, let's go on to like specific weapons and stuff here. This is a rather long one. So, fast auto rifles have had a damage decrease. Stuff like the Doctrine of Passing and this is actually up here at the top. They call them like bullet hoses. Um,
Bullet hoses is exactly what to call them.
yeah, the Suros regime. Oh, no, that's the fast one. Sorry, Doctrine of Passing and the Arminus D are the main ones you'll know. The Arminius, they had a 2.5% reduction, so they kill a little slower now. And the slow firing ones, like the Suros regime, the Answering Chord, Anguish of Driston, not sure how to say that.
Driston.
They had
Driston's
a
how I say that. It's the
okay,
new raid auto rifle.
okay. They got a 2.3 increase in base damage. Slow post pulse rifles also had a damage buff. This includes basically spare change is the main one, but they had a 3%
The
increase.
messenger.
Yep, the messenger and
Yes.
the Leah Dumila D, which I believe no,
It's
that's not the raid one. I had the raid one.
no, it's a one you can get from I think gunsmith packages, and sometimes you can buy it as an arms day order.
hmm Hand cannons in general just now have more ammo in their inventory. They don't have extended mags or anything. It's just more ammo because a lot of the times they tend to run out more than anything else. So PvE, you'll have more hand cannon ammo. PvP, you'll have more hand cannon ammo, assuming you can go on like a streak or something. I don't see any issue with that. I never find myself running out of ammo with any other weapons, so I feel like I shouldn't run out with hand cannons.
I'm gonna be very happy to have more hand cannon ammo in my pockets for the first curse. I love that thing.
Gotcha. Glad you do. Fusion rifles, they basically increase stability across the board to a 40% recoil reduction. So instead of firing it and watching it fly to the ceiling, now you have it more controlled. Where if you aimed at their like waistline, it would go up to the head. I think is the best way to describe that. So I feel like we'll see an influx of fusion rifles in Crucible, and they'll actually be able to compete with snipers and shotguns and sidearms. I mean, sidearms don't really get that much love, but
Screw sidearms.
that too. We got sniper rifles. This is a pretty big one. They
Oh lordy.
increased the zoom on low zooming scopes by I forget how much, 20%. No,
I
no,
think
that's not it.
it was
Doesn't actually say. It just has increased it. Um,
yeah.
and this will affect not necessarily. It will affect a lot of snipers. The 1 yard, the 1,000 yard stare is the one that they really focused on in this tweaking. But I'm just going to go through here. There's the increased base zoom distance on the lowest range. The medium to long range scopes are fine. They increased base zoom distance on snipers that didn't have any optics enhancing scopes, such as the Hereafter, the Black Spindle, the Patience and Time, and the Still Piercer. They added 2 frames of zoom time to base sniper handling, so it's slightly slower in terms of quick scoping if that's something you did.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get used to that, Frantic.
I will, because I can do that every now and then. They reduced the snapshot perk by 20% to benefit the base zoom time down from 30%. They reduce stability across all sniper stats, so reacquiring the target after firing causes a little more issues. It isn't too bad, but it's going to be noticeable. And then they addressed a bug where Zen Moment was not providing perk benefits to sniper rifles. They also removed it from uncommon and rare snipers, and
Zen Moment. Oh.
I don't remember what that does.
Zen Moment, as you cause damage to the target, it increases your stability. It's an amazing perk to have on like a scout rifle that rolls with full auto.
Yeah.
Because as you're shooting your target, and by the time it's dead, it's a laser. The Vision of Confluence, your one Vault of Glass scout rifle had that, and it was amazing.
I got that from the time we did the Vault of Glass this past week, by the way. And Legendary Hake Sniper Rifles traded Zen Moment for Performance Bonus, and then Almalon Legendary Snipers trade Zen Moment for Battle Runner.
Battle Runner, I believe, kills with the weapon grant a bonus speed boost to sprint and base player movement.
Mm-hmm.
I think. So.
All right.
Pretty useless perk if you ask me, but whatever.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go start going through my list down here again. We got the multi-tool no longer has high caliber rounds, so let me. It's actually right here on my screen. The stats of being the multi-tool being used in year 2 is kind of absurd.
If you can, you should totally show that graph off because that is absurd.
Right now. It is absurd. It is way higher than any other gun by a long shot, and you can see exactly the moment it came into existence in year 2.
When they published the December weapon tuning update, I think that was the last one. I don't think they had any since then. But the December weapon tuning update is when people really discovered that the multi-tool was an amazing weapon. And as you can tell, it just goes from the very bottom of the line graph all the way up to the top in pretty much a straight line.
Oh yeah, it just flies.
Yeah, and then afterwards, it goes down a little bit when people don't use it, and then it goes back up a little bit with its highest peaks being when Iron Banner was active.
Mm-hmm. So, and trials and stuff like that. You see the peaks.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, not like high peaks, but you see a little more than normal.
Yeah.
But there's basically just spikes once a month, and that is Iron Banner. So
that's normally when Iron Banner's on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, to note, the high caliber rounds are not an actual perk on there, so you won't be losing a perk on the multi-tool. It's intrinsic perk, meaning it's hidden.
It's like a passive one.
Passive, exactly. So it's there. It's not actually, you can't actually change it, but it's there. It's kind of like how the Gallowhorn has proximity detonation rockets. But yet it doesn't say, there's nothing on it where it says proximity detonates.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you're not losing any perks. It's just that's being taken off.
And what those did was basically just kind of like cause impact to you where your stability gets kind of thrown off.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to fight it.
You've heard us throw around the term stagger, I'm sure, a lot on this.
Yeah.
So it staggers targets and all kinds of other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to more specific guns, we got the Suros Regime. The spinning up perk now kicks in about 4 rounds into it. Spinning up, if I remember correctly, is basically damage starts getting higher the longer you fire it, something like that.
The weapon actually starts firing faster.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. And that kicks in around the 4th round, is what they said.
Yeah, 4 rounds later than what it currently is,
Mm-hmm.
So...
the Hawkmoon's range got an increase.
Hawkmoon!
The last word perk, the damage got reduced. It will still be a 3-shot, but they know that the last word is one of the most popular hand cannons. The perk itself, they just reduced the damage. I think the precision damage or something like that. Because there's a perk that it gives you all this kind of buff for firing from the hip.
Right. It's the actual damage that the perk grants you.
Hmm.
So it's not. It's basically not doing anything. It's just. I think it gives you bonus stability and accuracy when you're firing from the hip, and it also gave you bonus damage.
Hmm.
And now they're basically just taking out the damage. So when you're firing from the hip, you're going to get bonus accuracy and stability.
Oh yeah, no bonus damage. Yeah, I got it on screen now.
Perfect.
Next
Yep.
up, we got the Thorn, the lovely, lovely Thorn.
And it's back and better than ever. You're going to love this gun, guys.
Oh man, they killed it, and I'm so glad they did. Well, I mean, they didn't kill it, but it is much worse than it was. They reduced damage over time, the dots, to as low as they could, so 1 hit point base damage, and they reduced the duration by 2, so instead of 6 ticks, you get 4. So not only will it tick off less damage, it will tick less in general. And then they reduce the intensity of the poison screen effects, so that way you aren't just blinded, even though you wouldn't really be. It's just it's less
I
poison.
I don't see the point in that because I never noticed. I mean, I noticed it when I was poisoned,
Hmm.
but to me it wasn't something that was glaring. So
I'm just glad about that because one, it's a year one weapon, and two, the amount of people using it in PvP still annoys me. Yes, I used it before because I literally just got it a couple weeks ago and wanted to see what the hype was about, but then I stopped using it unless someone pulled it out on me. So
I don't know. I have sentiment to the weapon because of how difficult it was to get,
yeah, I feel you
and I
there.
suffered through that every single time I got that. So I had one. Why did I need two others? Two other
Yeah.
characters. I figured so.
Next up
So
is the Icebreaker.
yeah.
They wanted to preserve it, but it was also a year one weapon. Um, they increased the scope zoom optics to 6 times. They reduced base handling to the lowest value, and they reduced base target acquisition by 25%. And they also removed the death swapping glitch in PvP. I don't know if it's a glitch, but uh, basically they tried to make it to where it's a sniper that should be used as someone sitting on the very back of the map picking off things instead of running into battle and either quick scoping or getting really close to people and doing that essentially. Is how they worded it. So with the special ammo tweaks, I feel like we'll still see icebreakers, but not nearly as bad as we used to, because
I
you
think
still have
it's
to be mindful of how much special ammo you have and when to get it, but I feel like the scarcity of it will lead to people using the icebreaker to just spam the trigger and try to hit people as much as they want, you know?
right. I think with the icebreaker, the people you'll see using it now will be primarily people that really love the weapon, like those with the thorn. You know,
Yeah.
people are going to move on. As much as I love the thorn, I've moved on from using it. I
Yeah.
found better weapons that I like. I found better sniper rifles to use
Mhm.
than the icebreaker. So, I think it's really going to be your people that are really, really good with it, and those that really don't want to use something else, or it's their only sniper rifle and that's what they want to use.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I agree with you. I think we'll see it less, especially in trials now that everyone will be starting off with special ammo. But you'll still see it, just
Yeah.
not as bad as it was.
Next up, we got on the update, we got Dreg's Promise. The projectiles track more aggressively on fire, targeting locks onto enemies in your reticle. Damage reduced by 40%, and the rate of fire was reduced to compensate for this. And then damage fall off reduced to match sidearm archetype range. So looks like they just wanted to make it track harder, and they reduced the damage essentially it does. That way, it's not too overpowered when it gets released here on Tuesday.
Right. I'm excited to try it because it was a useless weapon when it first came out, and it still is really.
I mean, it's
So
basically a pulse rifle and a sidearm from what I saw, but it tracks. It looked kind of
yeah,
cool.
it
Uh,
is. I'm anxious to try it.
Yeah, they then go on to point out that snipers and shotguns got reduced ammo inventory. The Telesto had a bug where firing projectiles to despawn, or sorry, they fixed the bug that caused it to projectiles to despawn when impacting friendly players. In Wards of Dawn, now they attach and detonate on friendly targets but do not cause friendly fire, which was really funny when they talked about how you could use this to basically turn your teammate into a walking bomb.
Which we're going to be dumb enough to try that.
Yeah, definitely. I had one, but I had to buy it again to get it back. But anyways, in the Chaperone, they fixed a bug that was clamping precision damage on shotguns.
Whatever that means.
I don't know at all what that means. I'm going to go through my list over here because there's a couple things I don't know if it's actually mentioned, but I want to wrap it up here. Um, The Quillam's Terminus and the Harrowed Quillam's Terminus have less ammo because they're the best heavy machine gun in PvP at the moment in time, and people can go on like 10 kill streaks with them, so they reduced ammo. That's just good,
They
I
re-
think.
yeah, they as a matter of fact, the changes to those is the base stability has been reduced by 9, and the base inventory stat reduced by 15.
Yeah, I got that on
So
screen now. I didn't realize they changed stability. They didn't mention it on the stream. And
yeah,
then all King's Fall raid drops got increased reload speed, and the auto rifle got an increased stability by 12%.
yep.
And that
So
covers all the weapon changes. Overall, we basically covered our mindset on that. The only other thing left to cover is the changes to warlocks. And there's only one thing in the warlock changes that I truly think is questionable. Uh, I'm just going to go through what I have here. They lowered flame shield. Not lowered it, but they made it less effective. So like, I don't think it lasts as long or whatever. And you can also, by taking damage, it goes down probably faster.
yeah,
Slower melee recharge, so they can't melee nearly as often. Their melee ability nearly as often. The Stormcaller bubble popping has been removed, so you can't cast Stormcaller and get landfall bubble popping out of it.
which I didn't even know that was a thing to do beforehand, but
Yeah. And then they reduce the blinding effect of landfall when you're in Stormcaller, so when you cast it above somebody, you don't blind. It's a smaller radius that it blinds people. And then Stormcaller in general is going to last less time because it lasts for freaking ever right now.
yeah, Storm Trance, the duration of it. Um, I don't know. There's a perk on there that when you have a full melee and grenade charge, that it increases the duration of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's specifically that they're
I think
touching
just
or if it's
overall they're
just
just taking it down a little bit, where you could probably still have a long one with that, but they're reducing the time in general so it isn't so damn long.
right. They also, I don't know if it's in your notes or not, but I do remember this. They're also changing it to where if you're running around and you're like pulsing your ability while you're looking for other targets, that's going to eat your super energy. So,
Yep, if you're like spamming the right trigger instead of just holding it, I mean either or both, it's going to take away a lot more even faster. So
yep, you'll run out of the super faster.
yes. And then Void Warlocks, Void Bomb did not get touched. They just buffed the other abilities to just be more effective because Void Warlock is like the least popular.
I love my Void Warlock though, so that surprises me.
It's one of those underrated ones where it's like I could do Stormcaller or Self Res, or I could do Void Bomb. Nah, you know what I mean?
Right, right. I'm disappointed in their last change to Warlocks. They reduced the amount of orbs that you can produce from a single Nova Bomb. So I'm a little disappointed because the Voidwalker used to be the original um, orb generating machine
Yeah, now
before
that's
the Stormcaller and the Titan's Tether, the Hunter's Tether came along.
yeah. The Hunter's Tether I can almost consistently get 8 if I do it right, which is kind of
Right,
dumb, but whatever.
right. So
And then the last thing to note, and this isn't even actually a change, it's more of a just note that they did not change Firebolts from Warlocks. Something everyone was like, we kind of want to change that. And
right. Why is that now?
I don't remember their reason actually.
The fact that they would have had to have basically rebuilt the entire Sunsinger
Yeah, I remember that now.
subclass, and I don't think that's something they want to do necessarily.
I feel like it could have just gotten less ticks, or
They could have done that with Viking Funeral, really,
yeah, it's
because
just a Viking funeral problem where it just goes on forever and can take out somebody who has over half their life left.
right, it's not even the problem with firebolt grenades isn't even the firebolt grenade themselves because by themselves they're trash. Give me a fusion grenade any day.
Stick people in instant kill. Boom, done.
Right, exactly. It's when you couple the firebolt grenade with Viking Funeral. Viking Funeral sets gives all of your grenades the option or the ability to
Burn over
cause
time.
damage over time,
It,
dots.
it also does it to any fire ability, so your melee does it too.
Yeah, but the firebolt grenade, you
So
get
that's
like
yeah.
one shot from someone, throw a grenade around a corner, and they're dead. They're pretty much that's it.
Yeah, as long as they're within the radius of it to where it'll hit them. Like I've noticed where someone's thrown one behind me and I tried to run away and I still got hit by it. I just died or was down to so much less life that they could just pop a shot on me. Now, yes, that is a tactic to where you throw a grenade and hit somebody, but the firebolt burning over time causes your shields to never regenerate for like easily 10 seconds.
Right, and that's the same. That was, I think, really the biggest problem behind the Thorn is it did the same thing.
Hmm.
It took you out of the battle for so long while your shields, well, that damage is doing over time, keeping your shield from coming back, your health from coming back. So,
And they're okay nerfing the Thorn with that, so I feel like they should be able to nerf the Warlocks.
but the
So,
question is, did they try and do it in their test environment and break something?
could be
Maybe they're
that.
doing their jobs.
Maybe they just want to see if these debuffs cause them to be not as effective.
Right. Not pointing fingers or naming names. 343.
All right, so that's all the changes that they pretty much gave us for the Crucible. There's no custom games like people thought. A lot of different
True.
weapon changes. Most of all, I think I'm on board for most of them. I think the special ammo will be interesting to see how it works in trials, but I think that's the right move to give us special ammo and then just make us be a little more conservative with it instead of, well, maybe round 4 we'll just see icebreakers come out once people run out of special ammo. But I think all this is a good step in the right direction for just about everything. I think the only thing I'm truly upset about was the firebolt grenades, but maybe the debuff to the solar warlocks will kind of balance them out in a little bit.
Right. So I'm I'm anxious to see. I'm not going to say I can sit here and say what I like, which I pretty much did.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I don't like that because they didn't do it this way. Because I don't know, maybe it will be for the better.
Yeah, here's
And
hoping.
and I am, aren't I? I'm like that with most games, though. I see a change and it's like, oh, all right, I'll see what it's like before I start ranting about it.
Hmm.
So
All right. Well, this update comes out Tuesday. I don't remember how big it will be. A couple of gigs, right? Like 4 or something like that. Sound about right? It might be
mm,
more than that.
I don't know. It all depends. Their last update that came out, granted, it was the Taken King update, but it was around 18 gig. So
Yeah, I feel like it's only going to be a couple, but comes out Tuesday. Make sure you set it to download. That way you can get ready and hop on and play it. We will be doing Challenge of Elders till the end of time, along with maybe some Trials and Iron Banner when that happens, but that will be what we do. I'm very sure of it. I'm excited for it because I can start infusing all the stuff I've been saving up and decoding the 30 engrams that we have saved up from exotic 3 of coins, although someone keeps stealing them.
if you have
All that in the bag of
any
jazz.
if you have any problems with uh, getting exotic engrams from Three of Coins, blame Freak Show. It is his fault.
Yep, he's stolen all of our drops. He's got like 30. I have like maybe 9.
I've gotten 6 because I got a couple. I got a primary weapon and an armor piece a chest piece to drop.
And it's not like I'm not using 3 of coins. I buy 50 a week, and I get down to about 10 by the end of the
50?
week.
You
You
only
bought
bought
100.
50? I bought 100.
I
Yeah,
got up to 80 after buying from Zur today. So
I bought. I bought
you
this.
bought Zur
I
just in
bought
general.
Zur, complete with Kung Fu action grip.
Grunt had over 800 strange coins, right?
873.
Which is just the right amount to say, hey Zur, can you just come with me? I'll give you all these coins.
The
That's a
hilarious
hidden
thing
feature in the
was,
game. I bet you didn't know that.
yeah. See,
At all. Don't do that. Anyways, all right. Well, it's about time to start wrapping this up. So we'll do advertising and get it out of the way. We still went to an hour and a half, even though we had like 2 things to talk about. Oh well.
I
Uh,
mean, that was a lot of changes though. So,
well, yeah. I mean, we might have to cut down on the junk we talk about. We'll
eh.
see what happens. Let us know if you don't enjoy our rants in the beginning of the episode. We will definitely take your criticism into consideration. Anyways, I am Frantic J3 on Twitter. He is at Onyx Spartan on Twitter. Onyx is ONYX. You can find us at frantic_talks on Twitter or on facebook.com/frantic talks. That would be all one word. We post a lot of our articles on those accounts. We have a YouTube account that this is where the podcast gets uploaded every week on Sunday usually, and then I can either get the audio version out on iTunes either Sunday night, midday, or Monday morning. The YouTube channel does not have a URL yet. We need 100 subscribers. Do that. You can find that channel on the Frantic Talks website. If you go to any of the latest podcasts, there's a video that you can click on. It'll take you right to the channel. I'm talking to my girlfriend off screen. Sorry, guys. And then, is that about everything? Is there anything else I was forgetting? Magic.frantictalks.com. That's where we write about Magic the Gathering. I showed it earlier in the stream and told you I had a new article out on that. Go read it if you want. If not, it's quite all right. I think that just about sums it up.
Pretty much.
Seems about right. All right, well, guys, it's been fun. Hope you guys are ready for the Destiny update. This time, oh yeah, find us twitch.tv/FranticJ3 the third. What am I doing? Every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern,
Right.
you'll hear us talk randomly for an hour and a half. So
Right.
yeah, that is what we'll be We will be playing a lot of Destiny next week and expect a lot of discussion of the challenge of elders and the new updated weapons and fun stuff that we're going to get to try out here Tuesday. And potentially maybe some Battleborn gameplay if we're not too involved with this update. So,
Or I haven't murdered my internet with all the downloading.
that too is a very likely possibility. All right, guys. I'm Frantic.
I'm Grunt.
And I will see you, or we will see you next time. Bye, guys.